Let's get one thing straight. Just because a job paid well doesn't mean it paid you well. You might bring in $100,000, but if the job costs you $70,000, you're left with $30,000. And while that sounds good, here's the kicker. If someone else is doing the same size job and keeping $40,000, they're winning. You're just working more for a smaller slice. This is why we track gross profit margin, not just gross profit. Wait, what's the difference? Well, let's get this clear. Gross profit is a dollar amount. That's calculated by revenue minus your cost of goods sold. Gross profit margin, however, is a percentage, and that's revenue minus your cost of goods sold divided by your revenue. It tells you how efficient your work is at generating profit. It answers how much of every dollar actually stays with me after the job eats. So here's an example. Same job, different margin. Two contractors do the exact same $100,000 job. Contractor A has cost of goods sold for $70,000. That leaves a gross profit of $100,000. Gross margin, 30%. Contractor B, cost of goods sold, $55,000. Gross profit margin. Gross profit, $45,000. Gross margin equals 45%. They both built something, but only one of them built a profitable company. So what's a good gross profit margin? For most construction businesses, 40 to 50% is strong. You're pricing well, controlling costs, or both. If you're between 30 and 39%, that's decent, but it's tight if overhead is high. If you're between 20 and 29%, that's a thin margin. You're doing volume, not profit. But if you're seeing under 20%, you're in the danger zone. You're working for someone else's paycheck. If your overhead is 25% and your gross margin is 30%, that only leaves 5% to pay yourself. That's not profit. That's a side hustle with paperwork. So why do contractors misread this? Contractors often fall into the trap of looking at the job profit in dollars. We made $20,000 on that job, but they don't ask how much revenue did it take to get that $20,000? Was it a 40% margin or a 15% margin? Could we have made $20,000 on a smaller job with less risk? Dollars feed the ego. Margin feeds the business. So let's look at a real job site example. Had a client bragging about a $1.4 million job that netted him $90,000. Sounds impressive until we ran the numbers. $1.4 million in revenue, $1.31 million in direct costs. Gross profit, $90,000. Gross margin, 6.4%. Then we looked at a small tenant improvement job he passed up. Would have been $250,000 in revenue, $140,000 in cost of sales, gross profit $110,000. His gross margin would have been 44%. Guess which job paid better? Big jobs aren't always good jobs. Big margin wins every time. So how can you improve your gross profit margin? Price your jobs for profit, not survival. Know your costs. Add markup like your livelihood depends on it, because it does. Number 2, you can track labor productivity. If you're bleeding hours, your gross margin is vanishing before the paint dries. Number 3, you can rein in your material waste. Lost screws, over-ordered lumber, last-minute runs to the supply house, it all adds up. Number 4, watch your subcontractor quotes. If they're not locked in, you're floating their margin out of yours. And number 5, stop taking busy work jobs. They keep your crew moving, but kill your margin. So here's the final word. Gross profit margin isn't about how big the job is. It's about how much of it you get to keep. The difference between 30% and a 40% margin, that's the difference between buying a new truck or borrowing to make payroll. So stop chasing revenue. Start tracking what's left after the job eats. Because in this business, you don't get paid to build. You get paid to keep what's left when the dust settles.